Good morning, students. Welcome back to the course of software testing methodologies. Today in this lecture, let us discuss about the transaction flow testing. This video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions, Macherla. This is Arvind Egireddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Today, in this particular lecture, we will try to understand the concepts of transaction flow testing. That is the different definitions of transaction flow and transaction flow graphs. Then we will see the visualization of transaction flow in a software system. That is its representation, implementation, architecture in an OS and implementation in a system. Then we will try to understand the need and appreciate the usage of these transaction flow testing. So with respect to the data flow graphs and control flow graphs, then we will identify the complications in the transaction flow testing methodologies. So here we are going to discuss about the handling cases of decisions, biases, mitosis, transactional junctions, absorptions, and conjunctions. So here in the transaction flow testing techniques, first we have to build the transaction flows. As these transaction flows are natural agenda for the system reviews or inspections, and it is being conducted through the walkthroughs, we have to select a set of covering paths C1 plus C2, and using these analogous criteria, what we have to use for the structural path testing. Then we have to apply the path sensitization. Then we apply the path instrumentation. As we know that instrumentation is going to play a bigger role in transaction flow testing than in unit flow testing. So after that, we have to design and maintain the test database. And finally, we have to limit to automation of text execution. So here, if we want to do transaction flow testing for a system of any size, then we see how the transaction flow implementation and test related comments, transaction based systems and hidden languages. So let us see what is a transaction flow testing. Before that, let us see what is meant by transaction flows, and transaction flow graph. So now what is a transaction? A transaction is nothing but it is a unit of work seen from system's user point of view. That means that we have to view a transaction from the context of a user's point of view. So we have to see that the transaction from the context of user point of view. That is what we mean by a transaction is a unit of work that is being seen from the system's user point of view. And as we know that a transaction is a unit of work. So what is the meaning of unit of work here? Here, a unit of work, which means a collection of work. So here the gathering or the combination of the task is called as a transaction. For suppose, if you want to withdraw your amount from the bank ATM machine, some of these transactions, they consist of a sequence of operations, and some of which are being performed by a system or a person or a device that are outside of the system. Suppose if we enter into the ATM machine, then the software that is present in the ATM machine will be in the idle state. That is, the software that resides in the ATM machine will be in the idle state. So this idle state is converted into the ready state once when we touch any key on the ATM machine. So now this ready state is being converted into input state once when we insert an ATM card into the ATM machine. So now the ATM machine that validates the ATM card, that is whether that particular card is a valid card or not. Suppose if the card is valid, then it will take us into a new screen where we can perform sequence of operations like entering the amount what we want to withdraw. Then we will type whether the type of the account, whether it is savings account or current account or what is the nature of the account. Then we will try our PIN and we will give the information saying that whether we need any receipt or not. So such kind of informations we will be typing. So now the ATM software that validates the amount that is being entered is available in our bank account or not. And if the amount is available, then it will dispense that particular amount what you have entered. Else, it will display the message saying that insufficient funds in your account. So here, all these operations will be carried out in an withdrawal operation. And we can notice that all these operations will be performed in a sequential order, that is in the linear form. So all these operations that are being involved in this transaction, they are need to be stored in a log file. So every transaction has at least two states. One is the birth state and the other one is an termination state. So the transaction that begins with birth, that is, they are created as a result of some external act. And at the conclusion of the transaction processing, the transaction will be no longer in the system. So it will die and it will get terminated. So now let us see this small simple example of a transaction. So a transaction for an online information retrieval system, which might consist the following few steps. First, we have to accept the inputs. That is what is called as a tentative birth. Then we have to validate this input. So here the actual birth happens. Then we transmit the acknowledgement to the requester. We do input processing. We search for the files. We request directories from the user. We accept some sort of input and validate these input. Then process the requests and update the files and transmit the output. And at the end of this, the recorded transaction is into log files. After recording all the operations what we have performed, then it will clear up. That is, a death happens. That is, the termination of the transaction happens. So these are the set of the operations in the transaction in order to retrieve the data from the system. And suppose if we want to represent all these operations, what are all that are involved in this particular transaction, then there is where we require one tool, and that tool is what we call it as an transaction flow graphs. So here, these transaction flow graphs is the same as what we have discussed as a control flow graph in path testing. Here the transaction flows are introduced as a representation of the systems of processing, and these methods that were applied to the control flow graphs are then used for the functional testing. So here, transaction flows and transaction flow testing are the independent system testers. What controls the flows or path testing to that of the programmer. So the transaction flow graphs, which is used to create the behavioral model of the program that leads to the functional testing. And the transaction flow graph, which is a model of the structure of the system's behavioral functionality. So as of now, let us see one small example of a transaction flow graph from our prescribed textbook. So before discussing about this particular flow graph, we have to understand the three important things that are related to this particular flow graph. The first one is user terminals or dumb terminals. And the second one is controller terminal. And the third one is the main CPU. So these user terminals which are connected to the controller terminals, and the controller terminals are connected to the CPU. And the CPU contains a set of forms which has to be filled by an user in order to make an order for a product or any particular part. So first the user can make a request for filling the forms from a dump terminal, and this request from the dump terminal will be forwarded to the controller terminal, and the controller terminal will forward the same request to the CPU. Now the CPU that validates the request and finds whether that particular form is available or not. And if it is available, then it will forward the same request to the control terminal, and the control terminal will forward to the specific dump terminal from which that request is being generated. And whenever the form is get back into the dump terminal, then the user can fill the data according to the form. So here, one more of the decision, that is D2, if you can see here, the user is asking about any additional fields to be filled in it. In that case, he will be making an request to the case C. So if more additional fields are to be filled, then he will make a request to the C. So here C is called as an connector or an label. So if we want more fields, then only we have to make the request to the C, and we have to wait until we get back to the dump terminal for filling the additional fields. And suppose if we don't have to fill any additional fields, then we have to submit the form to the dump terminal. Now the dump terminal will forward the filled form to the controller terminal, and the controller terminal can forward this filled form to the main CPU. So here the main CPU that will validate the filled form, whether it contains the valid data or not. Suppose if it is asking for a date of birth to be filled, and if you are entering the wrong data fields, then what it will do? It will display a message saying that the format is not correct. Or if it is asking to fill as a phone number, generally in India, the phone number that consists of 10 digits. If you are filling less than 10 digits, then it will display a message saying that the data is insufficient. So in the case of numeric field, if you are entering characters, or in the field of characters, if you are entering the numeric letters, then also it will display a message saying that the syntax is not correct. Please verify. So here the main CPU that validates the field form whether it contains the valid data or not. Suppose if it is invalid data, then it will ask for whether it needs any reviews. Then it can go to the print setter. So just like that, it will not submit the form. It will ask whether you want to do any corrections. Are you really trying to submit the things? So this we can see whenever we try to delete the data from our folders. So finally, at the time of deleting, it will give us a pop-up message saying that really whether you want to delete this file or not. So it will give us one more chance. In the similar fashion here, the CPU will give us one more chance whether it will, by asking you whether you want to submit the form, or do you would like to do any modifications. So if we say okay, then it will go to the print setup. Otherwise, the system, it is going to generate an error message saying that this filled form requires this kind of specific data, so that we can verify it and correct it and give it to the label C. So this is the representation and the behavior for whatever the things or whatever the events that can be occurred in the order in order to make the request form by the user to the CPU. And also it contains the set of states and events that are being sent in order by the CPU to the user. Now, let us see the next example of an transaction flow. And this is the transaction flow for a single transaction. So the first transaction flow graph is being used for a single transaction where the transaction enters from the input side and exit from the output side. So in between the input and output, the transaction flow is going to pass through 5 processors, where the names of these processors are A, B, C, D, and E. So first the transaction that will enter from the input, then first it will enter into the processor A. After processor A, in sequence, it will go into processor B. And based on the output of the processor B, it can either roll back to the processor A or it can forward to the processor C, which is the next sequence. So now based on the output of C, the transaction control flow can roll back to the processor B, or it can roll back to the in a forward direction to the processor D, because after C the next sequence is D. So now let us see the next transaction flow graph, which is the flow graph for multiple transactions. So this previous flow graph, what we discussed till now, is for single transaction, and this flow graph is for multiple transactions. So now before going into this discussion, we have to understand the concept of what is meant by a token and what is an TCB in a transaction. So sometimes we call tokens as transactions and sometimes we call TCB as an transactions. So here the transactions, when we call them as a tokens. So when can we call a transaction as a token? So we call transactions as tokens when they have positive numbers like transaction 1, transaction 2, transaction 3, or T1, T2, T3, so on. So this number is what is called as an token number. So that what is a TCB? TCB means transaction control block. And the TCB contains a number of operations that are involved in this particular transaction, and how many operations that are been already executed in the transaction, and what are the number of operations that need to be get executed in the transaction. So here, what are the different files or variables or identifiers of the data this transaction is going on. So all this information, what we call it as an TCB. So here the transactions, that is the tokens or the transaction numbers or the TCBs, these can be entered from front end and join at the input queue. And here we have to understand that there is one important component of the operating system. That important component is nothing but a scheduler. Here, the responsibility of this particular scheduler is to pick one of the transaction from the input queue and it assigns it to one of the processors. Here, if you observe in this particular system, here there are 5 processors: A, B, C, D, and E. So here, and also you can see that there are 2 memory devices. One is a disk and a tape, which can be used for reading and writing. So here, the scheduler is going to pick any one of the transactions from the queue and then it will assign to any of the processor that is free. Now suppose if no processor is free, then the transactions are going to wait until any of the processor becomes free. If it is free, then the scheduler assigns the transaction to any of the processor that becomes free. So when it is executing, it may read the data from the disk or a tape, and after finishing the execution, these transactions are going to enter to the output queue and are going to terminate at the output module. So here, next topic, let us discuss about the usage. So here, transaction flows are indispensable for specifying the requirements of complicated systems, especially for the online systems. So here the big systems such as air traffic control systems or airline reservation systems, they have hundreds and hundreds or thousands of different transaction flows. So here, while handling these thousands and thousands of lines of code, these transactions, they need to be represented by relatively simple flow graphs, because they need to have a single straight through paths. Otherwise, we may get confused because the code is complex. We have thousands and thousands of transactions. So these transactions, if we are not going to represent in a single straight through path, then it may lead to so many sort of bugs. Here, while using the loops which are infrequent, they need to be compared to the control flow graphs. So here, the most common loop which is used to request a retry after user input errors. For suppose, if we take an example of an ATM system, which allows the user to try, say, 3 times. So 3 times, if you are going to enter your ATM wrong PIN number, then what it will do is it will block that card for 24 hours. And it will send a message to the registered phone number saying that your password is being entered 3 times wrong. If it is not you, please give a complaint to the nearby bank. So in this way, it will help us. So 4th time, what it will do is it will block the card for 24 hours. So next topic is complications. So in simple cases, the transactions, they have a unique identity from the time they are created to time they are completed. So in many systems, these transactions, they can give birth to others, and these transactions, they can also merge. Here, the births, there are 3 different possible interpretations related to these births. So these 3 possible interpretations of the decision symbols are the nodes with 2 more outlinks, and it can be decisions, biases, or metasis. So here in decisions, the transaction will take one alternative or the other alternative, but not the both. So either it can be alternative 1 or it can be alternative 2. So any one, but not the both. Whereas in biases, here the incoming transaction that is going to give a birth. So it is going to give a birth to a new transaction, and both transactions continue on either separate paths. And here the parent which is giving birth to another transaction, but it is not losing its identity. So the identity will be same. So either you can go for this or this, but it is not losing its identity. Whereas coming to the mitosis, here the parent transaction is destroyed. So here, see, here you are getting the parent out, but here no. So here the two new transactions are created. So it is giving 2 births, and it is destroyed. Okay, now let us see the next topic, that is mergers. So here transaction flow junction points are potentially as troublesome as a transaction flow splits. So here there are 3 types of junctions. One is ordinary junctions, second one is absorptions, and third one is conjunctions. So in ordinary junctions, which is similar to the junction what we have seen in the control flow graph, here the transaction can arrive either on one link or the other. So it can be both. In case of absorption, so in absorption case, here the predictor transaction absorbs the prey transaction. Who is the prey? Daughter is the prey. So daughter is being absorbed into the parent predictor, and the predictor is retaining its identity. Whereas in conjunction, if you can see the conjunction case, the two parents transactions, they merge to form a new daughter. So in keeping with this biological flavor, this case is called as an conjunction. Of course, we have no problem with ordinary decisions and junctions, but absorptions and conjunctions, which are the problematic for the software designer as they are for the software modeler and test designer. And as a consequence, such points, they have more than their share of bugs. So a common problem are what we can see here are lost daughters or wrongful deaths or illegitimate births. So that's all for today's session. I hope you understood the basic concepts related to the transaction flow graphs. So in the next class, let us discuss the transaction flow techniques. So that's all for now. I hope if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for the latest notifications. Thank you, one and all.